Now let's talk about how blood moves through the body. The blood moves through the body through vessels called arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules, and veins. Arteries are large vessels which move blood away from the heart. Some important anatomy term is arteries. Arteries are always taking blood away from the heart. The blood moves through the arteries to increasingly smaller vessels. This helps maintain pressure, allows the heart to not have to work as hard. The next vessel is called an arteriole, which flows into the smallest of vessels called capillaries. So as you can see here, the artery, which means this is blood that is leaving the heart, moves to the arterioles, which are smaller, and spreads the blood throughout the body more effectively. And then we're to capillaries, which are the smallest type of vessels. Capillaries have one cell thick walls. This allows nutrients and gases to move across into the cell and waste to be moved out of body tissues and eventually out of the body. After the blood moves through the capillaries, it collects in venules, which then collect in the bigger veins. Another important anatomy term, veins always move blood towards the heart. So blood pressure. What is blood pressure? Blood pressure is important to know because this is how much pressure is being exerted on the exterior walls of the arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules, and veins. We talked about previously that the veins and vessels have an elastic component. If there's too much pressure, eventually the vessels lose that elastic component, so the heart has to work harder. So now let's look at how blood flows through the heart and through the remainder of the body. The blood first enters the heart through into the right atrium, through the superior and inferior vena cava. This is blood that is returning from circulating through the body and is deoxygenated, which means it has little oxygen and more carbon dioxide. So when the heart relaxes, the blood moves through a tricuspid valve down to the right ventricle. The heart then contracts, and the blood moves from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery. If we think about what we learned on the last slide, artery means that blood is moving away from the heart. Now another anatomy term is pulmonary. Pulmonary means lungs. So this vessel moves blood away from the heart towards the lungs. The blood circles around the lungs, giving off carbon dioxide and collecting oxygen, and then returns to the left atrium through the pulmonary vein. When the heart relaxes, the blood moves from the left atrium down to the left ventricle. When the heart contracts, the blood moves to the aorta, which takes the blood to the rest of the body, starting the process all over again. I want to draw your attention to the thickness of the walls of the ventricles of the heart. This is what causes the blood to circulate. The strong contractions here allow blood to move throughout the whole body. Now I want to look at the different types of valves. I mentioned tricuspid valves earlier. So here's an image of tricuspid valves. So if we break down, tri means 3, so each valve has 3 flaps. Now these are one-way valves, so blood can only move in one direction. Otherwise, the pump of the heart would be less effective. If you have a defect or a failure of one of these flaps, it can cause what people call a heart murmur. We'll talk about that later. So this next slide shows, this is another video you can look that goes through the circulation of blood through the body and through the heart if you want to revisit that. You don't have to, but this is an option. Here is a picture of the circulation pattern through the body and how blood leaves the aorta and goes throughout the remainder of the body. Now, for anatomy pictures, what you need to know is red vessels mean artery. So, again, artery means that this is oxygenated blood going out to the rest of the tissue away from the heart. Blue signifies veins, which is deoxygenated blood coming back to the heart.